indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the review and approval of the agenda contents. Motion to approve.
So moved.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Moving on to the approval of the minutes for the April 29th, 2025 meeting. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, aye. Ayes have it. Moving on to new business, Council on Aging update. Ms. Gore, welcome.
Good, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'd like to introduce our board chair, Mr. Aaron Johnson. He's doing a great job. Mr. Johnson has extensive experience with veterans and veterans programs, and he's doing a great job for us. We're glad to have him. I'd also like to pay a heartfelt tribute to Mr. Bob Childs, who passed away May 30th. He served us for the past year. He served with professionalism and integrity. He had a struggle. We took care of him at the end. We took his lunch to him every day. And he wanted to live so bad because he loved what he does. And we loved him, but he gave it up May 30th. And I think his service is Saturday at 10. I'd like to thank Horry County Parks and Recreation and Horry County Libraries for the programs that we've collaborated on. Our social and outreach programs that we do together are looked upon by lots of folks in the state, and they all want to know how we do that. I'm like, you just say yes and let's try. That's all you have to do. Just say yes, let's try and see how it works. And normally, if everybody has the right heart in it, it will work. As far as our units of service, the following figures are the first, second, and third quarter of this year. Our congregate meals are 50,748. That's meals at the senior center. Our home delivered meals are 55,053. Homemaker services 3,679, and we did 21,118 miles of medical transportation. We currently are operating 10 senior centers after a consolidation of Loris and Mount Vernon that will reopen as one center on Monday, June 30th. Due to a certain number of elements, including the high cost of product, high shipping, energy costs, we had feared a reduction in services this year, but thanks to Horry County, fundraising, and friends, we are prepared to sustain our same level of service for the upcoming year of 25-26. We appreciate the county and everyone who came to our rescue so much. Thank you. Horry County Council on Aging has officially passed our 50-year mark this month. So we have operated in Horry County for 50 years. We probably serve millions of meals. I can't even begin to know how many that is, counting our home delivered meals and our congregate meals. Our services are so important. They keep people at home, saves the taxpayers money, and gives people some dignity and some grace to be at home. So for everything, I thank you. I'm proud of our agency. We do what we do, and we do it well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all your hard work. Any questions from the committee?
I just want to say I appreciate the job they do, and I hear from a lot of people that they really appreciate them being there.
No question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to the financial update for the May 2025. Ms. Norman.
Good afternoon. So today we are looking at financials for month ending May 31st, which is our 11th month of fiscal year. Looking at revenues across all funds, we are at $402.5 million. 69.5% of this is coming from the general fund. Looking at expenditures across all funds, we are at just under $292 million, with 72% of expenditures in the general fund. Because we do an annualized budget, we expect to be around the 92% mark at this point in the year. So looking at general fund revenues, we are at $279.7 million, which is almost 103% of the budget amount for the year. Our expenditures are at $209 million, which is 79.2% of the budgeted amount. This is under where we expect to be at this point in the year. General fund total actual revenues are 10.3% higher than prior year, and total actual expenditures are 7.7% higher than prior year. So looking at general fund revenues a little more closely, for the month end of May, most of our revenue categories are performing at or above where we expect them to be. Looking at expenditures in the general fund, again, all categories are performing favorably and tracking well below the expected 92% mark. So taking a look at our special revenue funds, the fire fund is performing as expected with a net change in fund balance of $8.7 million. The road maintenance fund has a net change in fund balance of $5.5 million. Both revenues and expenses are performing as expected. Beach renourishment fund, there have been very few expenditures in this fund so far this fiscal year, and a net change in fund balance of $2.2 million. Stormwater fund has a net change in fund balance of $5.6 million, with 105% of the budgeted revenue collected at this point. Recreation fund, with 103% of the budgeted revenue collected, they have a net change in fund balance of $348,000. And finally, the waste management and recycling fund has a net change in fund balance of $7.4 million, with just over 105% of budgeted revenue collected.
Any questions from the committee? Thank you so much. Moving on to the auditor presentation from Malden and Jenkins. Grant Davis, welcome.
Again, my name is Grant Davis, and I'm a partner with Malden Jenkins out of Columbia. And as we have done in the past, just wanted to communicate really the planning phase of the county's fiscal year 25 audit. So we just noted a moment ago, you've got a couple more days left in your fiscal year, and as soon as July 1 rolls over, then we'll begin more work, I guess I should say, on the fiscal year 25 audit. And so in light of that, I've got this PowerPoint here to just go over a few things with you all. I will say, and the good news, I guess, from our perspective is that really nothing has changed in terms of the auditing standards we're required to follow. So there's going to be nothing new in the way that we approach the audit from an authoritative perspective, but certainly there are some changes just due to activities at the county year over year. So again, I'll go over our audit scope and objectives and the planned timing of the audit. And within the planned timing, you'll see sort of some phases, some buckets of testing that we do ultimately. And of course, at the very end, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, if you have any, and as we go through all of this. But anyway, the audit scope and objectives, I'm not going to read all of this to you. But again, as I mentioned a moment ago, we're going to conduct the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. There are a variety of acronyms in our profession that we have to go through. The generally accepted auditing standards is GAAS, or GAS. We're also going to have to follow another acronym called GAS, which is Government Auditing Standards. So we're going to follow GAS and GAS. Nothing's new about that from the prior year and from previous years beyond that. In addition to those requirements, you'll see in this sort of second bullet down here, this uniform guidance audit. This is a single audit. I'm sure you're probably already aware, but anytime you ultimately expend over $750,000 in federal money in a fiscal year, it triggers a compliance audit, and that is what this single audit of federal awards is referring to. We do anticipate that a single audit will be required. In the past, the number of major programs that we've had to audit under the Single Audit Act have varied from year to year. And we'll just have to see what ultimately the final numbers shake out to determine how far we have to go in terms of meeting the federal standards. The county is a low-risk auditee from a federal compliance perspective, so it means we really only have to audit 20% of your federal awards, as opposed to 40% if you're not a low-risk auditee. So the auditing burden is a little bit less, given that 20% requirement from the federal government perspective. I mentioned this a moment ago, but this audit in accordance with government auditing standards, and we'll ultimately issue a report in your ACFR, your annual comprehensive financial report, to this effect. But this report is designed to offer what we call negative assurance, which is to say we're not going to offer an opinion, but as a part of planning and conducting the audit in accordance with government auditing standards, if we identify any instances of internal control deficiencies or non-compliance, that we'll communicate that to you all. And so it's important to note, at least at this stage, in our planning stage, that we're going to conduct the audit again in accordance with government auditing standards with a view towards communicating anything that we do find to you all. I am happy to say, as you're probably already aware, in the past, we haven't had anything to communicate to you all. So we certainly hope that continues this year. Beyond that, again, I don't want to go through all of this specifically, but there is one thing, this very last bullet that I want to mention here specifically. We note this in our engagement letter. There's really an unavoidable risk, overall risk to the audit. That's, we call it management's oversight of internal controls. That's not specific to Horry County. I don't think it's indicative of anything that you should be concerned about specifically, but we do have to communicate to you all that we have identified management's override of internal controls as a significant risk to the overall audit and our opinions that we'll ultimately issue. And of course, we plan for that risk. That's why I'm communicating it to you. It's not an unknown thing to us. I've mentioned the single audit a little bit. It's quite an endeavor, just for the simple fact that the federal government changes the audit requirements on an annual basis. So it's a lot for your personnel to keep up with. It's a lot for everyone really involved in this process. You probably hear people say federal money isn't free, and that's certainly true from a compliance burden standpoint. This is a little bit about the timeline. So we did what we call interim audit work or preliminary audit work back in May of this year. And so you can see certainly the list of things that we began to do. Horry County's really great at having a soft close through March 31st to give us 9 months of information to go ahead and begin looking at, which really just saves us time on the back end when we're here in the early fall to do our final field work. So these are the types of things that we conducted in May of this year. And then after the interim process in this September-October timeframe, we began what we call final audit field work, which is we've got, instead of 9 months of information, we've got an entire fiscal year, all 12 months of information to go through and perform all of these bullets here in terms of our testing. And then continued here as well. This was a little bit longer of a list in that, again, we've got a whole year of information to look at and certainly finalize the results of what we identified in the planning phase. And then the final phase here to be done in November is what we call review and completion, or completion and delivery, ultimately culminating in the issuance of our reports to you all and me coming back and presenting the results of our audit to you. I will mention one other thing. I think I skipped it, but and I think y'all had this on your agenda as well, but there are 2 new accounting standards that are required to be implemented. I won't steal anybody's thunder by going into that. You probably don't really want to know much about it anyway, but Pam and I have been communicating a pretty good bit over the last couple months about that. So y'all are, as always, on top of everything from a financial reporting perspective. But again, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the audit process, or if there's an area of concern that you have that you'd like for us to look into as a part of our audit procedures. I'd be happy to hear that now, or certainly happy to talk to you later about it if you don't want to do it now.
Thank you, Grant. Any questions from the committee? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item D, Ms. Norman, welcome back.
You could have done this for me if you really wanted to.
It's not too late. I have
So as he said, GASB does require us to, or they issue some pronouncements. So they do this, these are designed to provide information that's useful for related decision-making purposes. And there are several of these pronouncements that we are currently dealing with. Most of these are minor, and we will implement them as they are required. So there are 2 that we are required to implement this fiscal year. The first, which we have actually already implemented, is GASB 101, which is compensated absences. This replaced GASB 16 and revises how we account Provides us how we account for and report employee leave benefits. The next one is GASB 102, which is certain risk disclosures. And this would only affect us if we were to foresee risks that could negatively affect the level of service we provide or our ability to meet obligations as they come due.
Thank you for that. Is there any questions from the committee? All right. Ms. Beth, come on up.
Thank you, sir, members of the committee. Today, I just wanted to provide an information point about the status of FEMA and some of the changes that are going on within that agency. Excuse me. And really, there are many changes that have been proposed to the way that individual agencies do business over the last 6 months. We're used to that. It happens. And so what we're doing now is monitoring those changes in real time and trying to keep you updated on what the potential impacts are. Although the exact nature of the changes and future operating models are not completely clear, some trends are emerging with FEMA. And one agency that really appears to undergo significant changes is the agencies that control disaster programs. So the sub-agencies within FEMA that are disaster related, we're seeing a lot of changes. Now, FEMA funding comes to us in a number of ways in terms of grants. We have public assistance for presidentially declared disasters. We have funding for mitigation projects in the terms of grants for opportunities that open up after those disasters. We have fire grants and Homeland Security grants as well. So that's all wrapped up in FEMA, as well as some of the other regulatory items. Today, I'm just talking about disaster and mitigation related funding. The federal government will begin shifting disaster funding and responsibilities to the states, and specifically state governors, after this hurricane season. Now, what that looks like, we don't exactly know. We have some ideas about what's being discussed, such as formula grants to states, et cetera, but they're all in the recommendation stage right now. Governor McMaster is going to play a role in some of the ways that the decisions are being made. He will be on that Council of Governors that is working directly on disaster funding with FEMA and what the future is going to look like and how FEMA is reshaped. In your packet is a memo dated April 12th, which I think is probably one of the best summaries of guidance that we have to date. It outlines a number of recommended actions. Just very briefly, although it's labeled pre-decisional, we're seeing some of these outcomes occurring already in other states. The idea is to increase public assistance declaration thresholds by 4 times. In other words, a disaster is going to have to be 4 times more costly before the federal government is going to step in and offer those reimbursement opportunities. Now, what's going to happen at the state level in order to compensate for that, we don't know yet. There's no automatic authorization of mitigation funds just because you've had a presidentially declared disaster. We have taken advantage of some of that funding before through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. That funding will not necessarily be available in the aftermath of storms, and we've seen those pots of funding be declined in the last few months. No approval of federal cost share increases above 75%. And also, there's going to be a limitation, or there's a recommended limitation on the types of recreational facilities for which you can claim FEMA reimbursement when you do have a declared disaster. One thing is that recreational facilities does include beaches, so that's one thing to keep in mind. The FEMA BRIC program, which was a very large mitigation program for large projects, has been eliminated at this point. So we're just tracking. We have not had any grants canceled, knock on wood, as a result of this, and so we're just working through and seeing what happens. As these changes take shape, we'll need to plan new strategies for costs that don't meet the threshold from some of the events that we do experience here in our county. Did you have a couple of words to say?
I was just gonna say that we're reviewing the financial policy. We're not recommending any changes now. We're waiting to see what the state, we're actively following what they're doing.
Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Is there any concern that we're gonna have to start disaster planning in our budget? as a result?
Potentially, depending on what the state does. But yes, that is a potential.
I will say SCDMD is being very active in reaching out to counties and letting us know the minute they know something. And so they're working actively to plan for the future with our emergency management staff.
Thank you. Moving on to actions pertaining to the budget. Item A, a resolution authorizing and approving state accommodation tax, 30% advertising and promotion fund budget.
Motion.
Mr. Jimmy Gray and Matt, would you like to come up and say a few words?
I'll start. I'm Matt Pavarnik, and I've been on the job for 5 weeks. As a matter of fact, today is my 5-week anniversary. I'm learning, so I'm the CEO of the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce and Visit Myrtle Beach, and I'm learning a lot every day in these 5 weeks. Today, what I learned is if I want to walk in earlier than 60 seconds before the meeting starts, ride with them, not with Jimmy. But we made it, didn't we? We made it. I will just say it's just been a fantastic 35 days. I'm really anxious to get together with each of you, so it will almost feel like desperation when we reach out and say it's time for Matt to come and meet with you, and I'm really looking forward to that, and I think Jimmy's going to attend a lot of those with me. Administrator Spivey, I think we're on the calendar, and I'm excited about that. This is my first time being in front of many of you, and so I also want to just kind of pass on a message that I have deep admiration for elected leaders and elected officials. And I just want to say that there are so many people that sit at home and they question what you do, right? And so I always like to remind people, I'm a big Theodore Roosevelt fan, and I'm a big fan of the quotes that he has around the man in the arena. And I just want to say, a piece of that quote is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man fails, or when the doer of good deeds could have been done better. The credit belongs to the man that is actually in the arena. And I just want to thank you all for being elected leaders and actually being in the arena. The last thing I will say is that I've been in the business for about 26 years, and I've always been involved with having the absolute awesome and important responsibility of deploying public dollars, our taxpayers' dollars. So I take that job very seriously, and you will see that I will do it with a level of reverence that means a lot to me. Always looking for a return to our citizens, always looking for a return to our residents, and always looking for a return to the government partners that we work for. So today, I don't know if Jimmy has anything, but today I'm going to ask Diane, one of my coworkers who was here earlier than 60 seconds before the meeting starts, to give you a very quick presentation. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Matt.
And I will keep this very brief, but thank you.
I know sometimes it's easier to follow along that way.
I'm Diane Charno, Executive Vice President of Marketing and Communications at the Chamber. And I have the distinct pleasure of working with a lot of the communities throughout Horry County to promote the destination. So I'll take you through just a very brief but hopefully impactful update on how we're promoting Horry County as a premier year-round destination. It's our goal to bring tourism success for the region, not just the beach, but for every community throughout the county. And we're doing that. Last year, we welcomed 18.2 million visitors who generated more than $13 billion in spending across Horry County. This activity fueled more than $31.2 million in NATAX revenue and more than $59 million in hospitality tax revenue. Every dollar invested is returning a strong, impressive return on investment. So for each dollar invested in tourism marketing, $143 in visitor spending, direct visitor spending is generated, an additional $20 in local tax revenue. And this is through a study we do with Longwoods International. Our approach for this coming year will build off that proven track record of an always-on campaign approach that features year-round advertising, and seasonal programming, along with specific campaigns reaching leisure travelers, golfers, group planners, and international visitors. Messages will be personalized for these audience segments and optimized throughout the year. Key markets will be focused on short-haul, long-haul markets with growing focus on nonstop air service markets to build shoulder season visitation and longer visitation from further destinations. We also promote through major national publications and digital platforms and television programming such as Chef Swap at the Beach, which has drove attention to our culinary scene through all of our local communities. PR will continue to drive earned media and high praise for the beach, like the TripAdvisor naming Myrtle Beach the #1 beach destination for this summer, #3 overall for popular destinations this summer in the U.S. We're proud of how we've elevated the communities through Horry County, not just Myrtle Beach, including promotions via our website with dedicated community hubs on the webs for each community on our website with blogs and videos as well. Promotion of signature events such as the Aner Harvest Hoedown, Conway River Fest, the Little River Blue Crab Festival, the Loris Bog Off, North Myrtle Beach's SOS Migration, to name a few, among others, in Surfside Beach, Atlantic Beach, and at the Horry County Museum. We also promote the destination via social media and through our email newsletter that goes to more than 240,000 subscribers regularly. And then we promote the campgrounds and the RV parks throughout the destination, including 2 new episodes of RV There Yet, which premiered last month on the Discovery Channel and featured Willow Tree Resort, the Ocean Lakes Resort, and also mentioned every single camp resort we have throughout the area. We're also driving visitation throughout the communities through our various trails, including the creation of a beer trail, an arts trail, a mini golf trail, and a new Chef's Pass, Table Pass trail that features all of those restaurants. This allows us to tell the unique stories of each area, highlighting their traditions, their flavors, and features. We're also continue to promote the destination via sports marketing, including the One Flight Myrtle Beach Classic, the PGA Tour event that has been here the past 2 years and will be back again in 2026 and further, and the Myrtle Beach Bowl, which had approximately 767,000 viewers with an economic impact of $3.5 million. Our total proposed ATAX-supported marketing investment for fiscal '26 is just over $2 million. This chart on that page provides a breakdown, but roughly it's about $800,000 going to online digital media, another $350,000 between broadcast and print, $325,000 for community promotions, and then we're going to match that with $325,000 for individual community events that has specific allocations for Atlantic Beach, Aner, Conway, Loris, Little River, North Myrtle Beach, and Surfside Beach. $125,000 for campground and RV marketing, and then $100,000 for sports event sponsorships, such as the Myrtle Beach Bowl and Classic. These investments are data-informed, outcome-focused, ensuring Horry County community receives value, visibility, and visitation year-round. And thank you for your support of ATAX funding so far. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you for the presentation. Is there any questions from the committee? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to approve. All in favor, aye. The ayes have it. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
If y'all would like to stay, you're more than welcome to, but if you need to get back to work, you can. Moving on to items B, C, D, and E. We're going to take these all together. A resolution declaring the intent by Horry County, South Carolina to reimburse Central for certain expenditures made prior to the issuance of federally tax-exempt general obligation bonds, and it's the same resolution for the fire district for RIDE 4, as well as the multi-county business park. Ms. Norman?
So what these resolutions do are allow us to reimburse ourselves using bond proceeds if we incur expenses for these projects. So again, the first one is for the public safety training facility, the coroner's office, and county EMS facilities, specifically Windy Hill, Goretown, and Prestwick. Second one is for replacement, expansion, and addition of fire facilities, specifically Goretown and Prestwick. The third is for RIDE 4 projects, and the fourth one is stormwater projects in association with the Inlet Square Multi-County Business Park. So we appreciate your consideration of these resolutions.
Any questions or discussions from the committee? Entertain a motion to approve all four.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to a resolution approving the, wow, can't even believe this year, 2027 budget calendar. Motion to approve.
So moved.
All in favor, aye. Ayes have it. Moving on to a resolution to revise the Horry County employee guidelines. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there any discussion or questions from the committee? Mr. Owens? Can you give us an update on this? You don't mind?
Glad to.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and
Thank
committee
you.
members. So, our employment guidelines, we've all heard this before, but they are designed to help guide our behavior and how we interact as an organization and the individuals within that organization. So the intent is always to improve on them, to make them more clear, and to make a better workplace for all of us. That makes us more productive for the citizens. So the majority of these, well, all of these are basically clarification or adding to the ability to communicate what is. There's really nothing new. So I'm just going to go through very briefly and highlight a couple points. So our first section in general guidelines, the biggest addition here is our smoking policy. It is not new. It has been an administrator directive for a number of years, and an administrator director normally, or generally speaking, is for two reasons. It's for something that may change regularly, or it may be something that's short-term. Smoking's neither, and we've put in some guidelines in the past that we have found that work and are flexible enough for us, so we want to go ahead and add those to employment guidelines. The reason being, the drawback for administrator directives is they're posted on our HC Cafe and they're not as widely communicated as our guidelines. Section 2, in our grievance policy, you'll see there are a number of changes in there. They're not really changes. They're clarifying what the procedure is. The last few times we've done revisions, we've done this, and we've learned through our experiences with the grievances what confuses the participants, and those participants are going to be the affected employee, the department head, and the grievance committee, and we've tried to clear it up of accountabilities and responsibilities in the process. The upside is, in the past 12 months, we've had 4 grievances, 2 of them actually. But so since it's rare, no one's really a pro at it, which is a good thing. So this is just for clarification on that. Personnel records, very minimal change, 2 or 3 words to clarify how we review them, who reviews them, and how they're maintained. Attendance and leave, again, clarification. We've added, in particular, there is an obscure part of the FMLA, or Family Medical Leave Act. It's occurred one time in 27 years, 7 months, and 12 days, but who's really keeping track of that? But we wanted to add it because it does give, it informs employees their ability to take intermittent leave. We also wanted to clarify, because it's always a fragile and sensitive situation when we have employees that are discharged under our extended leave, whether they're hurt on the job or off the job, and they go past the extended leave. We want to make it clear to them that if they become fit for duty, they're always eligible for rehire in a position that they're fit to be employed in. A disciplinary action, this is another one that the biggest change here, we are adding back a section related to employee arrest. If you're an old timer, and it's me, I'm the old timer, because in 2003 we removed the section for employer arrest because it was very inflexible, it was very vague, it was more of a hindrance than a help. We removed it. There was a disagreement on, we could never agree on how to put in the correct process. So it's over 20 years of practice that we've arrived at these procedures that we feel maximize the fairness for the affected employee, the employee's department, and also the citizens, because a lot of times they are affected by these situations as well. So we want to make sure we put that out there and it's communicated to the employees when they find themselves, if they do, hopefully they don't, in these situations. And finally, in Section 6, again, just some clarifications related to the Fair Labor Standards Act, our FLSA, which is a federal law that governs how we pay, how we deduct pay. Some specifics to exempt employees, exempt meaning exempt from overtime. So if they work 40 hours or their regular hours, they work beyond those 40 hours, they're not entitled to overtime. But the FLSA does specify how you deduct pay when they're out on particular leaves, and we've just added some language to that. It also clarifies some dates as it relates to reinstatement. And just as advance notice, we anticipate coming back either in the fall or winter with a couple of other revisions. One thing that we're considering, we continue to debate and deliberate over, is our paid leave program. We had a system in place. It was removed during the Eldridge administration, and that particular system was favorable toward employees. So we are deliberating whether or not to bring that back. So we're gathering feedback from employees at all levels, management and non-management. And another administrator policy that was taken out back in the early 2000s, or another policy that was taken out and became an administrator policy in the early 2000s was our hiring guidelines. Again, because we, as everyone knows, we have diverse operations, it was very inflexible for a lot of our departments. So we have put in place procedures that we've used for basically the last 10 years now, and they, for all intents and purposes, are very favorable to all departments. So we want to make them a part of the official guidelines as well. There may be some other minors that are revisions we're looking at too, but just wanted to give you a heads up that may be coming.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. Any questions from the committee?
I'm just curious, one, on the smoking, do we have designated smoking areas or how? But no smoking in vehicles or what?
Yes, sir, and that's exactly what those guidelines say. And we have had that when we put this policy in place is when we went about designating the smoking areas. And like I said, it's been about 8 or 9 years, I think it's been in place. And for the most part, it's worked. We haven't had any issues. The biggest issue is constant communication. And it's posted on our cafe. A lot of employees don't look at it regularly, and some don't have readily access to it. With the guidelines, we push it out regularly, so communication will be better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor, aye? Ayes have it. Moving on to a resolution to award Horry County Home Consortium Home ARP funding and a resolution to award Horry County Home Consortium funding.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
As you know, Horry County receives Home Investment Partnership funding from HUD and our HUD Entitlement Grant. This is a 3-county program including Horry County, Williamsburg County, and Georgetown County. And during the COVID era, HUD released a special $3.8 million tranche of funding to Horry County for specific purposes and specific projects. We did have a call for proposals. These proposals were reviewed by staff and also by the 3-county review committee, and we would like to recommend under Home ARP the funding for 2 of the 6 applications that we received. One is for ECHO, the Eastern Carolina Housing Organization, for tenant-based rental assistance in the amount of $800,000, and we estimate that about 77 households will be served through that. Also, to the Eastern Carolina Housing Organization, homelessness prevention supportive services in the amount of $600,000. We estimate 90 people to be served through that. In terms of home funding recommendations, we have 3 applications received. We're recommending funding of 2 of those applications. The first is for Habitat for Humanity of Horry County, and that'd be $390,000 for funding of 6 units of $65,000 each. This is homeowner new construction. And also Eastern Carolina Housing Organization tenant-based rental assistance for $400,000. That will benefit approximately 50 households. So we have TBRA in both. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Thank you.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to approve both resolutions. All in favor, aye. Ayes have it. Moving on to community benefit fund request.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got 3 here today to review. The first one is for the Christian Academy. Funds will be used for improvements to the athletic complex fields at the amount of $15,000 from District 2. The next one is for the Ainer FFA Booster Club. Funds will be used to help with hosting the South Carolina Farmer and Agribusiness Association Annual Summer Farm Tour, which will be happening here in Horry County. The total amount is $4,500 in combinations from Districts 9, 10, and 11. And the final one is for our Fraser Community Center, and that will help with registration fees for the youth summer camp, and it's going to be $3,000 from District 7.
Entertain a motion to approve. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Ashley, what happened to the middle of the road?
I didn't hear
You
back
didn't put, okay.
just let me know.
Yeah,
We'll get it on the
okay.
next one.
Thank you.
Moving on to action items pertaining to Coast RTA. We'll take these 2 resolutions together as well. A resolution expressing support for Waccamaw Regional Transit Authority's application for a DOT grant through FY 25-5539 low and no emissions grant program and grants for buses and bus facilities, and a resolution declaring the intent for Horry County to enter into a funding agreement with Waccamaw Regional Transportation Authority to provide $25 million from Ride 4 funds for construction of a maintenance complex and passenger stations. Mr. Haldy.
Correct. That pretty much sums it up. The first is just a resolution expressing support for a grant application that Coast is going to put together for DOT that'll get them funds for improving their bus fleet and also for the maintenance station that they're looking to construct. The second one is the expresses the intent of County Council to provide the $25 million under Ride 4 for the construction of the maintenance facility and 2 passenger stations, and then that'll be subject to a funding agreement that we will agree to with Coast that manages the disbursement of those funds.
Any questions from the committee? Motion to approve both resolutions. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to a resolution appointing an alternate committee member to the Grand Strand Area Transportation Study Policy Committee for Horry County. Mr. Spivey.
Chairman, committee members, we wanted to bring before you today an opportunity and a need at the same time. GSAPS, which is the Grand Strand Transportation Study that we participate in for the 3 counties in the urban areas, redid their bylaws at their May 2nd meeting. In that, prior to that meeting, they have allowed or permitted, if a member of the GSAPS was not going to be there, they could appoint anyone to stand in their place, whether that was staff, whether that was another alternate elected official, that had helped them achieve a quorum as well as be able to conduct business on a regular basis. With the bylaw change, I think it's been forced on them from DOT that we have to physically designate who an alternate member would be. We do have 2 members assigned to the GSAPS Policy Committee. That's our council chair, and then 1 other council member, which historically has been Mr. Loftus, Councilman Loftus. So this resolution would reappoint those as our members, but the resolution has an error in it that I was able to confirm that we need to change prior to your action today. The alternate members need to be an elected official and not a administrative related party in that regard, since it is a policy committee in that regard. So in discussion with the chairman earlier today before the meeting, I think he had typically stepped in for the chairman. And for Mr. Loftus, I think the recommendation perhaps is for Councilman Causey to be the alternate for that position. So if y'all would amend what's presented here for those two names, and we can complete that and have that to them so that we can hopefully fully participate in those meetings. This is where a lot of money gets distributed and allocated to the projects that we depend upon and will impact our Ride 4 and multiple things. We had a called meeting actually Friday for some bus funding, which we were not able actually to have a quorum.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we amend it to have Chairman Servant and Councilman Causey to lead off.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spivey. There is attachments in the packet for y'all to review. Is there any old business from the committee? Seeing none, we don't need an executive session today. The next meeting will be July 22nd. Motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you.